Max Holloway is taking on Ilia Topuria in one of the most anticipated fights of all time, maybe the most anticipated fight of the entire year. And I want to go over some game plans, some strengths, some weaknesses of both fighters, and then I just want to break this fight down. So the first thing I want to talk about is some things I saw in the Dustin Gaethje fight that Max Holloway was having success with that I think he should do again in this fight. The first two things I want to talk about is the spinning back kick and the front kick that he was utilizing in the Gaethje fight. So the reason I think the spinning back kick is going to be good in this matchup is because Ilia Topuria, he's like bobbing and weaving, trying to duck out of the way of shots and stuff. And I think Max can time a spinning back kick that he could catch Ilia with, which I think could be a really good weapon in this fight. And then the front kick, just keep distance. I honestly think the teep kick and the front kick are the most underutilized, underrated weapons in the entire sport of MMA. You don't really see a lot of it really utilized, but if you go watch Muay Thai, you see it used all the time. It's really good keeping distance. They can use it like a jab. And I think those are two weapons that Max should utilize. And then another thing, I think the straight shots. So your jabs, your crosses, your 1-2, I think that is going to be good for Max. This is another specific thing for this matchup because we've seen Ilia get hit with straight shots. If you go watch the Bryce Mitchell fight that he had, Ilia was getting hit with some straight shots that he didn't really like that much in that fight. And I think that Max is much better at throwing straight shots than Bryce Mitchell is. So I really think he should utilize that in this matchup. Some things that Ilia's really good against is if you go back and look at almost all of his knockouts, it's him putting his opponent up against the fence and then putting their lights out. And the shots that he landed on Volkanovski and Jai Herbert specifically, if he gets Max in that position, it's night-night. Even though Holloway has one of the best chins, maybe the best chin in UFC history, it's lights out. It's just human anatomy. If you don't see a shot coming or you're running into a shot and it's directly on your chin, you just go to sleep. And we have seen Max Holloway in the past, even in his last Dustin Gaethje fight, get put up against the fence and eat some shots on the fence. And I think Ilia is the best in the entire sport at what he does. This is what he specializes in, is getting people up against the fence and then knocking them out. So I think Max needs to avoid that at all costs. Out in the middle, keeping the distance with your straight shots and your kicks, making sure you don't get put up against the fence and you circle away. You got to be very, 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 very cautious of Ilia Topuria's right hand. Circle away from it. And, don't get put in that position if you're Max. And I'm going to put some pictures of the stats of both fighters on. And you can pause it and if you want to look at it right here. But if you look at Ilia Topuria's stats versus Max stats, you see a big discrepancy in the offense versus the defense, with Max having a lot better offense with his strike accuracy and his shots landed per minute. And then you look at Ilia's and you see he doesn't absorb a lot of strikes. He has very good strike defense. And then in the grappling, we do see any grappling take place in this matchup. We see Max Holloway's known for having fantastic takedown defense. You can see that he has 84% takedown defense versus Ilia's takedown accuracy of 56. But if this does go to the ground, I think Ilia's jiu-jitsu is off the charts. And his ability to hold opponents down, like we saw, you look at his Ryan Hall fight and his Bryce Mitchell fights. He ragdolled Bryce Mitchell and ended up subbing him with the arm triangle. Then you see Ryan Hall, he was able to defend all of the submissions that he had off the back and then eventually ground and pound TKO. So, this dude's grappling is very underrated and underutilized in his fight. And if you go look at his early career, he was a grappler. He was a jiu-jitsu guy. And I think Max has to be cautious because he will go for submissions and he will hold you down and hit you really, really hard. And that is something that I think Max needs to be cautious of. But that is just a what if. This mainly is going to be a stand-up fight, I think. And another thing I want to talk about is Max's how Max looked in the Dustin Poirier fight that he had a while ago. And I know he took that fight on short notice and he didn't put weight on properly. But there is some things I do want to look at in this fight. And some success that he had was, again, he hit him with a 1-2, the straight shots up against the fence. And in a lot of Dustin Poirier fights, you see he gets put up against the fence and then eventually he counters you and earns your respect with the power up against the fence. But we didn't really see that happen with Max Holloway because he went in more cautious than most people. So I think he could have some success against Ilia, put that snowball effect of damage on him, push him up against the fence. And we saw in the Poirier fight, he ended up shooting a takedown on Holloway. And, he was forced to because he was really, really in trouble. And I think that is something that Max could do. Go in cautiously, put him up against the fence after you put some pressure on him, and, really start, hitting combos. And, yeah, that's all I have right now. I am going to do a prediction video for every fight on the main card later this week, so you can go watch the predictions. I just wanted to break down some, the numbers, the stats, and how I think the fight will look like. And yeah, like and subscribe so you can see that video come out later this week and some other ones. And yeah.